In the chaos following the emergency broadcast, Ileana finds herself separated from the other human delegates. Security protocols activate throughout the station, sealing different sections as a precaution against potential infiltration. She's directed to a secondary briefing room, where representatives from various species huddle in small, anxious clusters. A Sorelian diplomat paces nervously, their feathered crest flattened in distress. "This cannot be coincidence," they whisper to no one in particular. Attack during a full conclave gathering. When all our leaders are here, Ileana notices how differently each species processes the crisis. The Vespid representatives have formed a tight, back-to-back circle, an instinctive defensive formation from their hive evolution. The Diraxians remain completely motionless, their natural response to threat being perfect stillness. Only the Kelveri military attaches show something approaching human reactions, moving purposefully to secure exits and communication panels. Commander Vexlar catches her watching and approaches with measured steps. Up close, the scars crossing his facial plates tell a story of survival rather than conquest. Defensive wounds, not battle trophies. "Your presentation," he says without preamble. "The neurological differences you mapped. Would they explain what we just witnessed? The different reactions to threat?" "Absolutely," Ileana replies, lowering her voice. "What you're seeing is millions of years of evolutionary programming activating under stress. Flight, freeze, hide. Classic prey responses. And humans, fight or problem solve. Sometimes both simultaneously," she explains. "Our ancestors weren't just prey running from predators. They were predators themselves, hunting in coordinated groups. Under threat, we don't just react. We analyze and counterattack." The station shudders slightly as distant defense systems activate. On the main screen, fragmented reports scroll past. More colonies going dark. Emergency evacuations underway. Military vessels mobilizing too late to intercept the attackers. A hush falls over the room as Admiral Wells enters, his weathered face broadcasting the grim news before he speaks. He's accompanied by two conclave security officials who look distinctly uncomfortable. The unknown hostiles have hit 14 outposts in coordinated strikes, he announces without diplomatic cushioning. Pattern suggests they're working inward from the rim, methodically. This isn't random. It's hunting behavior. The word hunting sends a visible shudder through the gathered representatives. For species evolved from prey animals, the concept carries primal terror beyond rational response. "How can you be certain?" challenges a Mantodian official, their voice crackling with stress. "Perhaps they simply seek resources or territory." Wells activates a tactical display showing attack patterns across multiple systems. Predators follow specific movement patterns when hunting. They target the vulnerable first, establish territory control, then move systematically through available prey. These attack vectors match textbook predation strategies. As the implications sink in, Ileana notices something striking. The more Wells speaks of predatory behavior, the more uncomfortable the non-human representatives become, while the few humans present lean forward with focused attention, already analyzing possibilities. Dr. Reed catches her eye from across the room and gives an almost imperceptible nod. They're witnessing real-time confirmation of their evolutionary psychology theories, and the potential beginning of a galactic nightmare for which only one species might be psychologically prepared. "Admiral," Ileana interrupts, "I need immediate access to the neural mapping facilities. If these attackers truly think like predators, we may be the only ones who can predict their next moves." The room falls silent as every compound eye, sensory stalk, and ocular implant turns toward the human xenobiologist. In that moment, Ileana realizes she's crossed an invisible line. She's openly acknowledged humanity's predatory nature in a room full of evolved prey. The tension is palpable, centuries of instinctive caution warring with the urgent need for survival. Commander Vexlar breaks the silence, his military pragmatism overriding evolutionary hesitation. "Grant her access," he tells the security team, "and assign my personal guard as escort." He turns to Ileana with an unreadable expression. If we must think like hunters to survive hunters, so be it. But remember, Doctor, predators can become prey when they encounter more dangerous predators. As alarms continue to sound throughout the station, Ileana gathers her data tablets, aware that theoretical research has just become a survival imperative. Somewhere beyond the station's protective shields, something that evolved, or was designed, for killing efficiency is moving methodically toward them. The only question is whether the conclave species can overcome millions of years of prey psychology fast enough to survive what's coming. Admiral Wells studies the tactical display in the hastily established Joint Command Center, his face illuminated by the holographic projection of Nephilim movement patterns. 3 more colony worlds have gone silent in the past 18 hours. The Conclave Defense Forces, designed primarily to handle pirates and border disputes, are scattered and disorganized, their command structure fracturing under unprecedented pressure. "They're hurting us," Wells mutters, tracing the attack pattern with a weathered finger, cutting off escape routes before hitting population centers. Dr. Reed enters the command center, his usual composed demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. He's been working without sleep for 36 hours, analyzing neural responses from the few survivors of Nephilim attacks. "Harrison, you need to see this," Reed says, bypassing military protocol in his urgency. He transfers data to the main display, splitting the screen to show comparative brain scans. Left side is a Kelveri military officer during a standard combat drill. Right side is the same officer viewing footage of the Nephilim attacks. The difference is striking. Entire regions of the Kelveri brain show diminished activity, while stress indicators spike beyond measurement range. It's not just fear, Reed explains to the puzzled military staff. It's neurological shutdown. The Nephilim trigger prey response patterns so deeply embedded that they override conscious thought and military training. A Diraxian strategic analyst blinks rapidly, their species' indication of distress. "Are you suggesting our forces are biologically incapable of effective response?" "Not incapable," Reed clarifies. "Disadvantaged. Your evolutionary history works against you. When faced with apex predators, your species' ancestors survived by freezing or fleeing, not by turning to fight. Those responses are written into your neurochemistry." The command center falls uncomfortably silent as the implications sink in. Commander Vexlar, who has been observing quietly from the periphery, finally speaks. "Show us the human brain scans," he requests. Reed hesitates before bringing up a third image. The human brain scan shows markedly different activation patterns, frontal lobes lighting up with problem-solving activity, limbic regions showing controlled fear responses rather than overwhelming panic. "Your people don't experience the same neurological shutdown," Vexler observes. "You assess threats rather than simply reacting to them." Wells nods grimly. "We evolved as pursuit predators. Our ancestors didn't run from danger. They ran toward food, even when that food was dangerous. Facing threats activates our strategic thinking, not just our escape mechanisms." The Kelveri commander makes a decision, straightening to his full, impressive height. "I have 8 frigates with experienced crews waiting your instruction, Admiral Wells. They are yours to command, to train in your predator methods." Murmurs of shock and protest rise from several conclave representatives present in the command center. A Sorelian diplomat steps forward, feathered crest fully extended in agitation. "This is precisely what concerns us, Commander. One crisis, and you surrender conclave autonomy to the humans. Their evolutionary psychology makes them natural conquerors, not just of other species, but of entire ecosystems. Earth's history proves this. Earth's history also proves our adaptability," counters Wells calmly. "Yes, we hunted species to extinction, before we understood ecological balance. We waged wars. Before we developed cooperative governance. We evolved beyond our predatory limitations. Now we're offering to help you temporarily access predatory instincts that still exist within your neurophysiology." The diplomatic standoff is interrupted when the tactical display flashes urgent warnings. A Nephilim battle group has appeared in the Kelveri home system, bypassing early warning systems completely. They're targeting your ceremonial breeding grounds. Wells analyzes quickly, recognizing the cultural significance of the location. They're not just killing. They are learning which targets cause maximum psychological impact. The blood drains from Vexillar's face as the implications register. 3 billion Kelveri young are currently developing in the sacred spawning lakes of his homeworld. In their vulnerable juvenile state, they would be defenseless. How would a predator defend against another predator? Vexillar asks, his voice barely controlled. Wells doesn't hesitate. By becoming a more dangerous predator, by striking first at what the enemy values, not just responding to their attacks. The command center erupts in objections. Such offensive strategy violates centuries of conclave defensive doctrine. But Vexillar silences them with a sharp gesture. If we must become what we fear to protect what we love, he declares, then teach us to hunt, Admiral Wells. Teach us before there is nothing left worth saving. Queen Mother K-Set's inner sanctum pulses with biochemical signals as she receives reports from her scattered colonies. 3 Vespid hive worlds have fallen to the Nephilim in the past week alone. The losses send ripples of distress through her extended consciousness, millions of connected Vespid minds crying out and then falling silent. The humans speak of predator instincts as salvation. She clicks to her royal guard. But consider what accepting their guidance truly means. For 50,000 years, the Vespid Collective has structured our civilization around cooperation and defense. Our architecture, our social hierarchies, our very conception of morality, all built upon prey psychology. Her chief geneticist inclines her antennae respectfully before responding. Yet our historical archives show that before our ascension to spaceflight, Proto-Vespid engaged in territorial hunting behaviors. The genetic capacity remains, merely dormant. At what cost would we awaken it? K-Seth counters, if we embrace predator psychology, will we remain Vespid? Or become something unrecognizable, something that future generations would condemn us for becoming? Their philosophical debate ends abruptly as a priority communication arrives from the Mantodian delegation. The encoded transmission contains something unprecedented. Biometric data from thorax showing significant neural reconfiguration after just 3 days of human training. Meanwhile, in the abandoned maintenance tunnels beneath the conclave station, Ileana watches Zarkin practice the hunting exercises she's designed. The young Mantodian moves with increasing grace, no longer fighting his body's instinctive response to danger, but channeling it into controlled aggression. Remarkable adaptation curve, Reed observes, monitoring neural patterns on a portable scanner. His hippocampal activity has increased 30% since yesterday. Thorax chits with reluctant admiration. He was always rebellious, fascinated by alien cultures, especially human art forms banned by our Cultural Purity Bureau. Perhaps minds open to external influence adopt predator patterns more readily. Their research session halts when proximity sensors detect Nephilim hunter-killers approaching their position. The creatures have infiltrated the station through damaged sections, methodically eliminating security teams. Ileana's group must relocate or risk discovery. Not yet, she whispers, studying the movement patterns on their scanner. They're following standard search protocol. Systematic grid pattern. Predators become predictable when they don't expect resistance. You suggest we remain. Thorax's mandibles click with agitation. Every instinct tells me to flee deeper into the tunnels. Exactly why they expect you to flee, Ileana explains. Predictable prey behaviors make hunting efficient. We break the pattern. We set up a counter-ambush here. The concept seems to physically pain the Mantodian scientist. You propose we move toward danger deliberately. This violates every survival principle my species has evolved. Prey survival principles, Reed clarifies, not predator principles. Predators thrive by calculated aggression, not perpetual retreat. Young Zarkin steps forward, compound eyes gleaming with unexpected determination. I studied human military history from forbidden archives. Their ancient texts speak of this, the hunter becoming the hunted. The next 20 minutes transform theoretical discussion into desperate practice. Using maintenance tools and emergency equipment, they prepare a crude but effective ambush point. When two Nephilim scouts enter their section, Ileana's improvised team executes the trap with surprising coordination. Even Thorax, acting against millions of years of evolutionary programming. The aftermath leaves them shaking but triumphant. Thorax examines one of the fallen Nephilim with scientific detachment masking his inner turmoil. I felt something during the engagement, he admits quietly. Not the blind panic of prey, but something focused, almost pleasurable. His mandibles quiver with complex emotion. Is this how predators experience hunting? This sense of power. Ileana chooses her words carefully. Predator psychology isn't about power or cruelty. It's about effective action rather than reflexive reaction. You didn't enjoy killing. You experienced the satisfaction of effective problem-solving under pressure. Before they can explore this philosophical distinction further, their communication unit activates with an encrypted message from Admiral Wells. The experimental human-trained Kelveri Strike Force has engaged a Nephilim harvester ship near the spawning grounds, with unexpected success. The message ends with words that send shivers through both humans and Mantodians. The Nephilim are adapting their tactics. Whatever intelligence guides them has recognized the threat pattern change. They're now specifically targeting any ships or installations with human biosignatures. We've become their priority prey. Zarkin's compound eyes swivel toward Ileana with newfound understanding. They recognize you as the greatest threat, not because of your technology or numbers, but because we're teaching others to think like predators. Reed finishes grimly. We're not just changing tactics, we're changing the evolutionary game itself. Again, Ileana instructs as Zarkin completes the simulation. This time, anticipate their response to your trap. The young Mantodian has been training for 16 hours straight, his compound eyes showing signs of fatigue, but his movements growing increasingly fluid. What began as awkward imitation now resembles natural hunting behavior. The maintenance bay they've converted into a training facility is littered with improvised weapons and tactical diagrams. He's internalizing the patterns, Reed whispers to Thorax. Neural scans show decreased activity in his fear response centers and increased activation in problem-solving regions. Thorax's antennae twitch with mixed scientific fascination and cultural concern. The speed of adaptation shouldn't be possible. Our neuroplasticity has evolutionary limits. That's where you're wrong. Reed counters, displaying comparative brain scans. These pathways weren't created. They were uncovered. Look at these basal ganglia structures, identical to patterns we see in extinct Mantodian predator subspecies from your fossil record. The capacity was always there, just dormant. Their discussion pauses as Zarkin successfully completes a complex tactical scenario that would have been unthinkable days earlier. The simulation ends with the Nephilim forces retreating from his counter-ambush rather than being destroyed, a more sophisticated victory than mere killing. You didn't eliminate them all, Ileana notes with approval. You broke their hunting formation and forced retreat. Efficient. Zarkin's mandibles click in the Mantodian expression of pride. Predator psychology isn't just about killing. It's about control of the engagement. Maximum result from minimum energy expenditure. On the research vessel Empirical Truth, orbiting safely distant from the embattled station, Dr. Reed's larger research team has made a breakthrough. Their neural mapping chamber pulses with activity as a volunteer Kelveri soldier undergoes the experimental awakening procedure. The key was identifying the correct neural triggers, explains Reed's assistant to the observing Conclave Medical Ethics Committee. We're not creating new neural pathways. We're reactivating ancient ones that evolution deprioritized but never eliminated. A holographic display shows real-time changes in the Kelveri's brain. Regions previously dormant now glowing with activity as carefully calibrated virtual reality scenarios and targeted neurostimulation activate predatory responses. The committee chair, a Diraxian neurologist, watches with professional interest overriding his species' characteristic caution. The implications extend beyond military application. If these neural structures truly exist across all conclave species, then predator psychology isn't alien to your evolutionary heritage. Reed completes the thought. It's a part of you that adaptation circumstances led your species to suppress in favor of prey survival strategies. Across the chamber, the Kelveri subject's eyes snap open with newfound clarity, the unfocused anxiety typical of prey species replaced by the focused assessment of a hunter. Meanwhile, aboard the conclave defense platform, Admiral Wells monitors the first full engagement between the newly trained Kelveri strike force and a Nephilim harvester near the spawning grounds. The battle unfolds with unexpected efficiency, the Kelveri vessels no longer moving in defensive formations, but executing complex flanking maneuvers that fragment the Nephilim attack pattern. They're not just following human tactics, Wells observes to his tactical officer. They're innovating, combining Kelveri sensory advantages with predatory strategy. The engagement ends with the Nephilim vessel destroyed and minimal Kelveri casualties, a result previously thought impossible. The footage transmits across conclave emergency channels, showing prey-evolved beings successfully hunting their hunters. Commander Vexlar's voice comes through the command channel, steady but altered somehow. "We remember this," he says simply. "Not as individuals, but as a species. The knowledge was within us, buried beneath millennia of defensive adaptation." The psychological impact of this success ripples through the conclave. Species that had been paralyzed by evolutionary fear begin to consider the previously unthinkable, that they might access their own predatory heritage to survive. In her royal chamber, Queen Mother Kaseth reviews the battle footage, her ancient compound eyes reflecting the images of Kelveri vessels hunting with predatory precision. Against all cultural instinct, she activates a direct channel to Admiral Wells. "Your methods have proven effective," she acknowledges, her translator rendering her clicks into measured tones. "The Vespid Collective formally requests human advisors for our defense forces." As Wells receives this unexpected request, Dr. Reed's neural mapping team makes another discovery. The brain scans of humans working closely with other species show subtle changes, enhanced activity in regions associated with empathy and cooperative planning, areas more typically developed in prey species than predators. It's not one-directional, Reed realizes with excitement. We're not just teaching them to think like predators. They are teaching us to incorporate the advantages of prey psychology, enhanced group cohesion, sensory vigilance, cooperative defense. The implication staggers him. They aren't creating predators from prey species, but something entirely new, beings with the complete cognitive toolset of both predator and prey psychology, integrated rather than oppositional. Evolution, it seems, has been given a rare second chance to explore paths not taken. The captured Nephilim lies restrained in the makeshift laboratory, its chitin-covered chest rising and falling with labored breaths. Despite Ileana and Thorax's best efforts, the creature's biological systems are failing rapidly, a built-in failsafe preventing extended capture. The cellular degradation is accelerating. Thorax notes, manipulator appendages moving with precise efficiency over his instruments. We have perhaps 20 minutes before total system collapse. Ileana makes a difficult decision. Prepare the neural interface. If we can't save it, we can at least learn from it. The neural scanning procedure is risky, designed for conclave species brain structures, not the alien architecture of Nephilim cognition. As the interface activates, fragmented images flood the laboratory's display screens, vast industrial complexes where thousands of Nephilim grow in nutrient vats, training facilities where newly matured specimens learn hunting techniques, and overseeing it all, shadowy figures whose morphology defies easy classification. They're not a natural species, Eliana whispers as the data streams in. They're weapons, genetically engineered from the cellular level up. The dying Nephilim convulses once, its compound eyes fixing briefly on Eliana with something that might almost be recognition before its systems shut down completely. Across conclave space, the tide has begun to turn. Reed's awakening protocols, refined through continuous research, have spread to volunteer groups from multiple species. Combat footage shows remarkable transformations. Vespid swarms executing complex hunting formations their kind hasn't used in millions of years. Garaxian defenders anticipating Nephilim maneuvers with predatory insight rather than reactive defense. On the command carrier Indomitable, Admiral Wells meets with Queen Mother Kaseth to coordinate their next major offensive. The ancient Vespid matriarch has undergone the awakening procedure herself, a political risk that has divided her own collective, but inspired millions to follow her example. My ancestors were not always hive builders, she explains, mandibles moving with new precision. Before we evolved complex social structures, Proto-Vespid were solitary hunters. The memories lie buried in our genetic archive, accessible now through your awakening process. Wells nods with understanding. Humanity underwent a similar journey in reverse. Our predatory instincts once made cooperation difficult. We had to consciously develop social frameworks that channeled our hunting nature toward collective benefit. Their philosophical discussion ends as tactical alerts sound throughout the vessel. 3 conclave colony worlds have been liberated in rapid succession. Kelvari and Vespid forces working in unprecedented coordination, combining the Vespid's numerical advantage with Kelvari tactical precision. We're not becoming more human, Kaseth observes as they review the battle reports. We're rediscovering our own predatory heritage and integrating it with our evolved social structures. On the Mantodian homeworld, now a frontline in the expanding conflict, Eliana's resistance cell has evolved into a formal training center. Young Mantodians who once would have pursued peaceful scientific or architectural careers now learn adaptive hunting techniques from human instructors, their naturally precise movements making them exceptional tactical thinkers once freed from pure prey psychology. Zarkin has become a leader among them, developing combat innovations that blend Mantodian biological advantages with predatory strategy. His team discovers a Nephilim communication hub during a scouting mission and executes a perfect extraction operation, capturing intact data cores before the facility's self-destruct protocols activate. The intelligence they recover is transmitted to Thorax's analysis team, who make a chilling discovery. The coordinates believed to indicate the Nephilim command center contain embedded mathematical inconsistencies that only become apparent when analyzed through Mantodian architectural algorithms. It's not a location, Thorax realizes with growing alarm. It's a trap designed to draw in our main forces. He immediately transmits his findings to the combined fleet, where Commander Vexlar has proposed a major offensive against what they believe is the Nephilim command nucleus. The operation has already received approval from the Conclave Council, with preparations underway for what many hope will be the decisive battle of the conflict. Dr. Reed, reviewing Thorax's analysis aboard the research vessel, confirms the Mantodian scientist's suspicion. The coordinates were planted deliberately. The Nephilim want us to commit our forces there. This revelation places Eliana in a desperate race against time. The combined fleet is scheduled to launch their attack within hours, based on what now appears to be deliberately planted misinformation. With communications disrupted by Nephilim jamming technology, she must find a way to deliver the warning before thousands of newly awakened Conclave warriors fly directly into the most sophisticated ambush in galactic history. The hunters have laid a trap for the newly made hunters, Zarkin observes grimly. They've adapted to our adaptation. That's the true predator's advantage, Eliana replies as they prepare their makeshift vessel for a dangerous attempt to break through enemy lines. Not just strength or speed, but adaptation. The question is, can we adapt faster than they can? As their small craft launches toward the gathering fleet, long-range sensors detect massive Nephilim forces moving into position around the false coordinates, a hunting party larger than any previously encountered, specifically designed to counter the Conclave's new predatory tactics. The evolutionary arms race has entered its most dangerous phase. The command deck of the Conclave flagship, Resolute, falls silent as Ileana's transmission reaches them moments before the jump to the false coordinates. Admiral Wells studies the data with intense concentration while Commander Vexlar and other fleet leaders wait in tense silence. Confirm these findings, Wells orders his tactical team, even as he signals the fleet to hold position. The delay triggers immediate protest from several Conclave representatives who had advocated strongly for the strike. Every moment we hesitate, more worlds fall, argues a Cerellian delegate, feathers bristling with agitation. This could be human hesitation designed to protect their new influence. Vexlar silences the objection with a sharp gesture. The old prey psychology speaks through you, rushing toward a potential sanctuary without assessing threats. We will verify before proceeding. The confirmation comes swiftly as probe data returns, revealing massive Nephilim forces concealed in the surrounding stellar debris field, a perfect killing ground where the combined fleet would have been surrounded and decimated. The near disaster transforms Ileana's status overnight. Species that had viewed her evolutionary theories with suspicion now recognize her analysis as having saved thousands of lives. The Conclave Council convenes an emergency session, with Ileana presenting her findings directly. The Nephilim are learning and adapting, she explains to the assembled leaders. They recognized our strategic shift and developed a counter. This proves something crucial. We are not facing mindless predators, but tactically intelligent ones. Reed joins the presentation remotely from the research vessel, displaying his latest neural mapping discoveries. The awakening process has evolved beyond our initial projections. Look at these comparative scans from volunteers across different species. The display shows brain activity patterns from Kelveri, Vespid, Mantodian, and human subjects. While distinct in structure, all display remarkably similar activation patterns in regions associated with strategic planning and threat assessment. We're not becoming identical, Reed explains as council members murmur in surprise. Each species maintains its unique neural architecture, but we're activating complementary cognitive functions. This isn't homogenization, it's synergistic specialization. A Diraxian philosopher rises to address the council, a typically cautious species known for deep reflection rather than quick action. We face an existential question beyond mere survival. If we embrace these awakened predator instincts, do we remain true to our evolutionary identity, or become something our ancestors would not recognize? The chamber falls silent at this fundamental question, until Queen Mother Keseth responds, her ancient wisdom carrying special weight. I have lived 900 cycles, and led the Vespid through 3 great migrations. In all that time, I never accessed the neural patterns now awakened within me. She pauses, compound eyes sweeping the assembly. Yet I remain Vespid. My concern for my children remains. My appreciation for beauty remains. I have not lost prey caution. I have gained predator clarity. We do not choose between identities, but integrate aspects too long separated. The philosophical debate gives way to urgent strategic planning as Thorax presents his analysis of the Nephilim communication codes. The harvester ship's movements follow precise mathematical progressions, suggesting coordination by a central intelligence. The references to final harvest appear throughout their transmission patterns. He explains, manipulator appendages moving with newfound decisiveness. The timestamp indicates implementation within 52 hours, a massive, synchronized attack on all remaining Conclave core worlds. Admiral Wells studies the projected attack vectors with the calculated calm of an experienced predator. Conventional defense is impossible against an assault of this magnitude. We can't defend every world simultaneously. Then we don't defend. Vexlar suggests, mandibles clicking as his newly awakened predatory instincts engage. We appear to retreat. The audacity of his proposal stuns the Council. The strategy requires evacuating civilian populations from core worlds while leaving infrastructure intact, making the planets appear defended but vulnerable. When the Nephilim commit to planetary invasion, the combined Conclave forces will strike not at the ground forces, but at their support vessels, command ships, and supply lines. This violates every defensive principle in Conclave military doctrine, protests the Sorelian military attaché. Precisely why it will succeed. Wells responds. Predators anticipate prey behaviors, fleeing, hiding, building barriers. They don't expect prey to circle behind and target their vulnerabilities. The plan requires unprecedented coordination, each species contributing unique evolutionary advantages to a unified strategy. The Vespid's swarming precision, the Kelveri's sensory acuity, the Mantodian's architectural genius, and humanity's strategic adaptability must function as a single predatory entity. As the Council debates this radical approach, Dr. Reed makes another discovery examining neural patterns across species. The awakening process doesn't just activate dormant predatory instincts. It appears to reshape how these instincts manifest within each species' unique cognitive framework. The Vespid aren't just mimicking human tactics, he explains excitedly to Ileana via secure channel. They're developing hunting behaviors specific to their evolutionary history, behaviors we've seen in their oldest fossil records. It's not convergent evolution toward human thinking, but divergent evolution from a common predatory foundation. This insight transforms their understanding of what they've initiated. They haven't simply taught prey to think like human predators. They've unlocked each species' unique predatory heritage, creating a diversity of hunting approaches no single predator species could have developed alone. As evacuation protocols initiate across Conclave space, preparing for the risky counter-predation strategy, Queen Mother Kaseth approaches Ileana privately. Her ancient eyes study the human scientist with new understanding. "I feared you would remake us in your image," she admits. "Instead, you have helped us remember our own completeness. Whether we survive the coming days or not, that gift of wholeness cannot be undone." The Nephilim assault begins with mathematical precision. Thousands of harvester ships descend on seemingly abandoned Conclave worlds, their formations displaying the confidence of apex predators who expect no meaningful resistance. Long-range sensors track their deployment patterns as Admiral Wells and Queen Mother Kaseth monitor from the cloaked command vessel hidden within the debris field of a shattered moon. They're committing their forces exactly as predicted, Wells observes, the tactical display showing Nephilim ground forces establishing harvesting operations on 17 worlds simultaneously. They've detected our evacuation but interpret it as prey flight rather than strategic repositioning. Kaseth's compound eyes reflect the holographic battle projections. The prey that runs is rarely running to something, usually just away from danger. They cannot conceive that we might run toward advantage rather than away from threat. The command channel activates with Commander Vexlar's transmission from his position, leading the Kelveri strike force. All hunter groups report ready, awaiting execution order. Wells exchanges a meaningful glance with Kaseth before giving the command that will commit their forces to the most audacious military operation in Conclave history. Execute primary ambush protocol. All hunter groups engage. Across 17 star systems, the combined Conclave fleet emerges from hiding places that prey instinct had identified millennia ago. Asteroid fields, nebula clouds, gas giant shadows. But unlike their ancestors who would have hidden indefinitely, they now surge forth with predatory purpose. The Nephilim respond with immediate confusion, their formations optimized for ground operations suddenly vulnerable to attacks from unexpected vectors. The Kelveri strike teams, applying their evolved sensory precision to targeting systems, perform surgical strikes that cripple Nephilim flagship engines. Vespid swarms overwhelm larger vessels through coordinated mass attacks that no defense system can track simultaneously. On the Nephilim command carrier orbiting the Duraxian homeworld, the first indication of trouble comes when their primary communication relays go silent. Mantodian infiltration teams, utilizing architectural camouflage techniques developed by Zarkin, have penetrated their supposedly impenetrable defense systems. The Nephilim Commander, a specialized variant with enhanced cognitive implants, recognizes the tactical shift too late. The prey species are not behaving like prey. They're hunting like predators, but with methods no natural predator would employ. Combining the Vespid swarm coordination, Kelveri sensory targeting, Mantodian structural understanding, and human strategic adaptation into something unprecedented. In the Conclave command vessel, Dr. Reed monitors neural patterns across the combined forces, confirming that the awakened predatory instincts are integrating with higher cognitive functions rather than overwhelming them. They're not regressing to primitive hunting behaviors, he reports excitedly. They're creating new synthesis, predator instinct guided by sapient analysis. The tide turns decisively when Ileana and Thorax, applying their xenobiological findings to tactical operations, implement their frequency disruption strategy. The carefully calibrated emissions target a vulnerability in Nephilim sensory organs that their research on the captured specimen had identified. Their enhanced senses are an advantage in standard conditions, Ileana explains to the tactical team, but that specialized adaptation creates a potential weakness. Extreme optimization always comes with trade-offs. The disruption waves ripple across Nephilim formations, creating temporary but critical disorientation among their forces. In that moment of vulnerability, the combined Conclave fleet executes a coordinated strike that shatters Nephilim command and control systems. As the coordinated attack fractures Nephilim formations across multiple systems, their remaining command ships attempt strategic withdrawal, only to encounter Commander Vexlar's reserve fleet, which had executed a perfect hunting maneuver by circling behind the invasion force while appearing to retreat. The circle closes. Vexlar transmits as his vessels move into position. The hunted becomes the hunter. The victory exceeds all projections, with over 80% of Nephilim forces destroyed or captured. The few retreat vectors still open quickly fill with fleeing Nephilim vessels, a prey response that seems almost poetic to the observing Conclave commanders. On the Doraxian homeworld, now secured from Nephilim ground forces, Ileana walks through the aftermath of battle alongside Zarkin. The young Mantodian moves with the confident grace of a being at peace with both aspects of his evolutionary heritage. I never understood the human concept of satisfaction until today, he admits, compound eyes taking in the liberated landscape. Not joy in destruction, but in successful protection of what matters. Ileana nods in understanding. That's the healthy expression of predator psychology, not killing for its own sake, but effective action in defense of life and values. Their philosophical moment ends as Thorax's urgent communication reaches them. His analysis team has decoded a significant portion of the captured Nephilim command logs, revealing a chilling truth. The final harvest wasn't an end but a beginning. The Nephilim are not autonomous, his translated clicks convey with uncharacteristic emotion. They're bioengineered advance forces for entities they refer to only as the Shapers, beings who created the Nephilim as harvesting tools. As celebrations erupt across Conclave space, the shadow of this revelation spreads among the leadership. The logs indicate that the Shapers monitor their harvester forces remotely, and the unprecedented resistance will have already triggered their direct attention. We haven't defeated the predators, Ileana realizes with growing dread. We've only killed their hunting hounds. And now the masters are coming. 6 months after the Nephilim defeat, the Conclave has transformed beyond recognition. Ileana walks through the newly constructed Evolutionary Defense Initiative headquarters, marveling at how architecture across multiple worlds now reflects the psychological shift. Buildings that once emphasized concealment and protection now incorporate strategic visibility and controlled access points. Defensive functionality balanced with assertive positioning. In the central chamber, representatives from all 17 species gather around a massive tactical display showing the projected approach vector of the Shaper's fleet. The atmosphere carries tension, but not the paralyzing fear that would have dominated such a gathering before the awakening. The neural integration continues to stabilize across populations, Dr. Reed reports to the assembled council. We're seeing something unprecedented, not just temporary adaptation but fundamental neural restructuring that persists even in non-crisis situations. He displays comparative brain scans of volunteers monitored over 6 months. The predatory neural pathways aren't overshadowing prey caution. They're integrating with it, creating balanced decision-making that incorporates both assessment frameworks. A Sorelian delegate raises a feathered appendage in question. What of the human neural patterns? Has your species remained unchanged while guiding our transformation? Reed smiles, displaying human brain scans that show equally significant changes. Quite the opposite. Humans in close collaboration with your species show enhanced development in areas associated with collective awareness and cooperative planning. Areas more typically advanced in prey species than predators. This revelation triggers murmurs throughout the chamber. The exchange isn't unidirectional but reciprocal, predator and prey psychologies influencing each other toward greater completeness. Admiral Wells enters with Queen Mother Kiseth, their unlikely partnership now formalized in the Joint Species Command structure. The ancient Vespid matriarch moves with the measured grace of a being who has integrated both aspects of her evolutionary heritage. Her hive-mind connection to millions of Vespid, complemented by the focused clarity of awakened predator cognition. The defensive preparations proceed on schedule, Wells informs the Council. But our greatest advantage isn't technological, it's psychological. The Shapers created the Nephilim specifically to exploit prey response patterns. They have no template for engaging species that combine predator initiative with prey cooperation. Commander Vexler joins the discussion via holographic projection from the rehabilitation facility orbiting the Kelvary homeworld. Behind him, captured Nephilim specimens interact with conclave scientists in controlled environments. Thorax's breakthrough in communication methods has established basic understanding with these engineered beings, revealing more about their creators. The Shapers evolved beyond biological form millennia ago, Vexler reports, his scared face solemn. They create specialized harvester species like the Nephilim as tools across multiple galaxies. Biological life is merely a resource to be processed. They consider sentience a temporary evolutionary phase, rather than a valid state of being. Young Zarkin, now formally appointed as liaison between Mantodian and human military units, steps forward with unexpected confidence. His proposal combines human ambush tactics with Mantodian architectural principles, using the captured Nephilim vessels and reprogrammed soldiers as a false front to misdirect the approaching Shapers. They expect either prey flight or primitive predator confrontation. He explains, manipulator appendages sketching complex tactical projections. They cannot conceive of prey species adopting predator psychology, nor predators embracing cooperative strategy. This cognitive blind spot creates opportunity. As the Council deliberates this audacious plan, Ileana finds a quiet moment with Reed overlooking the vast defense preparations. Fleets of combined design vessels perform coordination exercises, while ground defenses incorporate elements from all 17 species' architectural philosophies. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first presented your evolutionary theory? Reed asks, watching the seamless cooperation below. Ileana shakes her head. I thought I was proposing a scientific curiosity, not initiating a cognitive revolution. We're witnessing accelerated cultural evolution that would normally take thousands of generations. Reed's expression turns philosophical. Perhaps this is how intelligence is meant to function, integrating all aspects of our evolutionary heritage, rather than specializing in only one. Prey caution tempered by predator initiative. Predator independence enhanced by prey cooperation. Their moment of reflection ends as long-range sensors detect the first quantum signatures of the Shapers' approach. The alert spreads through the conclave communication network, but the response isn't panic or retreat. It's the coordinated activation of defense protocols developed through unprecedented collaboration. In the command center, representatives of all 17 species take their positions with calm determination. Admiral Wells observes with quiet pride how each brings their unique evolutionary perspective to the challenge. Vespid swarm coordination, Kelveri sensory acuity, Mantodian structural genius, Duraxian processing speed, and human tactical adaptability. Queen Mother Kaseth addresses the assembled forces, her ancient voice carrying the wisdom of a being who has witnessed her species' greatest transformation. For millions of years, we defined ourselves by what we fled from. Now we define ourselves by what we stand for. The lights dim as the unified fleet engages stealth protocols, 17 formerly prey species moving with the coordinated patience of apex predators, setting the perfect ambush. For the first time in galactic history, the hunters will become the hunted. Evolution's edge resharpened through conscious choice rather than random selection. Commander Vexlar gives the final order as the Shaper's vanguard enters the outer system. Assume hunting positions. Remember what we protect. Ileana watches as the most audacious trap in evolutionary history prepares to spring. Whatever the outcome, these species have already achieved something unprecedented. They've transcended their evolutionary limitations through conscious integration rather than random mutation, creating a new path forward that honors both their prey origins and their newly remembered predator heritage. The future of evolution itself awaits the outcome of this final hunt. The end.